Hello BookTube, hello friends, welcome to Lizzie Faye Loves Books. I'm Elizabeth, and in this video I'd like to chat with you about Amish themed books. Now we are right in the middle of the 4th annual Amish in April Readathon, hosted by myself and Sarah the Bookish Knitter, and her and I both have read quite a few Amish books now, since this is the 4th year we've done this. I had read a few leading up to the start of this readathon, and Sarah had not read any, but we have discovered that we have both branched out into different areas of Amish themed fiction. What I read that are Amish books are quite different than what Sarah reads that are Amish themed books. And I thought it would be fun to show you my Amish book collection, and also just to chat for a minute about the spectrum of books that you could read for this readathon. Now, at this point, most of you who are going to participate are already participating, and I would say that probably the majority of the people I have chatted with are reading Amish cozy mysteries, of those of you who are participating in this readathon. Now, if you're reading Amish romances or inspirational fiction, be sure you comment down below, because that is where my heart is. I love Amish Christian romance. Now, okay, let's not get into that for a minute. Let's go back to so there are Amish romances that are Christian themed. Whether you believe that the people in the Amish faith are Christians or not, I think there's probably some that are and some that aren't, but let's get into that in just a minute. So first of all, like I said, the ones I have talked to are mostly reading Amish cozy mysteries. That's because Ro from Cozy Reads Mystery and Tiffany from the Beachbound Bookworm both participated in March Mystery Madness and got really excited about reading some Amish themed books, and Ro only reads cozy mysteries. So she is reading the Laura Bradford series. I think she just started on the first one, and that is a really fun looking series. I've got 2 of them on my shelf now. Hearse and Buggy is the first one, and then I don't have books 2 and 3, but book 4, I believe this is book 4, right? Suspended Sentence. I'm saying right, like I'm talking to Storm, because Storm is reading them right now. Storm from Storm Reads and Ro were both on my live show yesterday, and then also I had Allie Lischansky. All 3 are booktubers. Allie does read more Amish Christian fiction romances, more along the lines of what I love. Now, I love these 2, don't get me wrong. I love them both. It's hard to pick a favorite, but the romance is where I started with Amish fiction, so that's what I'm probably a little more familiar with. Although I have read now quite a few books by Amanda Flower and also Isabella Allen, which is her pen name, and I love those. So anyway, what I basically wanted to just chat about was the broad spectrum of Amish fiction. I've heard people say, who haven't read any, maybe, I don't really get that. What's the appeal? And, the answer to that could be different for different people. Sometimes it's just the simplicity of their lifestyle that you want to read about. Sometimes it's because the books, for the most part, are just very clean. The courtships are clean. You don't have to worry about a lot of graphic content. If you are a Christian and you enjoy Christian fiction that has an evangelical Christian message, then you may find that. Not in all of them by any means, but several authors like Beverly Lewis and a few of the others that write more inspirational with a Christian theme. And then you could also get, a little more gritty by reading some cozy mysteries. Now, I say gritty because a lot of these contain murders, so of course that is not, that's not a comfort read necessarily. But when you get into cozy mysteries, you're kind of walking a fine line because they're not graphic like, a lot of your hardcore crime novels are. But you can find some hardcore crime novels that are set in Amish country, and the one that comes to mind is by Linda Castillo. It's the Kate Burkholder series. Is it Burkholder or Burkhalter? It's one of those. Anyway, Linda Castillo is the author. Now, Sarah, my co-host, has read one of those every year, and so she's on book 4 this year for Amish in April, and those are very gritty, not clean definitely have some foul language, definitely deal with dark topics, but they're set in Amish country because the main character was born Amish. She was born into an Amish family, decided not to join the church, then became a police detective. But because she never joined the church, she's not shunned or excommunicated. She can still converse and have a relationship with her family. She's just not Amish, and she's a police detective. So it's a very interesting dynamic of her in the English world, but yet with an Amish family, and it brings an interesting scenario. It's an interesting premise. So I have read the first one, and I don't know if I'll read any more of those because they are very dark, and I've heard that book 2 is very dark. But I don't know. We shall see. Meanwhile, I've got enough to read. I've got so many things I want to read, and I just wanted to just kind of talk about that a little bit. So one other aspect that came up when we were announcing Amish in April this year, we had we've got a little prompt card with 9 different prompts that start with C. Well, the one in the middle is contemporary because, as I said at the time, you would be hard-pressed to find an Amish-themed book that's not contemporary. And I did that video, and I uploaded it, and that's still true. But it hit me right after I uploaded that video. There is at least one series that I know of that I've read last year that is historical, and it's an Amish-themed series. So I checked out one from the library. I don't own them, but it's a 3-book series with a tiny little prequel novella that is probably tacked on to the end of one of these books. I know that if you're listening to them on Audible, you will get that novella as a bonus in book 2 or 3 at the end of it. But anyway, I wanted to share this because I as much as said there are no Amish historical books, and I was wrong. I couldn't even believe that because I've read these. Anyway, it's by one of my favorite Christian authors, Lori Copeland, and the series is The Amish of Apple Creek or Apple Grove. Apple Grove. Okay. There are a lot of Amish series with the word apple in them, and I get all of these apple this and that mixed up. So, The Amish of Apple Grove, these are by Lord Copeland and Virginia Smith. And this first book, The Heart's Frontier, is about an Amish family. This is set in, I better put my glasses on. It's set in the 1800s, I believe, 1881. So it is about an Amish family who are moving. It's a father and daughter, and then the father's mother. So it's 3 generations. And I believe the daughter, there may be 2 daughters. One is like 18, and then the other one is 12-ish. That's not exactly right, but it's somewhere along that line. She's a kid, basically. She may be 13. I don't know. They are moving, or I believe the grandmother is moving. So they are taking her with all of her belongings, including this huge piece of heavy furniture in a covered wagon somewhere. I can't remember the details of why they're going anywhere, but they are. And they get robbed, basically. They get held up, and their wagon and everything just gets stolen, and they are left stranded. Meanwhile, this cowboy who is leading a cattle drive for his first time, his father was a cattleman or a trail boss, and so this is his first time out as trail boss with a herd of cattle. And he runs into them, or they meet him somewhere in a town where they have gone to ask for help. And the Amish man, the father, just feels like this is the person he's supposed to ask for help. And meanwhile, the cowboy I think he is a Christian, but he's kind of arguing with God through this whole thing, because the Amish man is saying, I believe that God sent us to you, or sent you to us, you're supposed to help us. And he's like, whoa, I have things to do. Let me just see if I can, basically find you someone else who can help you, and I've got to go. Well, you can imagine it goes on from there. He does end up helping them, and then it's a very slow burn romance between these two, because she's Amish, he's not. And, there has to be some changes with somebody somewhere if they're going to pursue a future together, which is a kind of a common theme among Amish fiction romances, sometimes that's, that's a trope where one is Amish, one's not, and so somebody somewhere has to change, make some choices. So anyway, this is a really good example of a historical Amish series. Now, I got to thinking about, why do we not see more historical Amish books? And I think maybe we don't know a lot about them from that era. But also, it's not as big of a jump to be Amish in the 17 or 1800s when, there's not electricity. They're not having to give up as much to be plain and simple, because there was not a lot of amenities back then anyway. And I think that's the real issue there, because you think, well, what's the difference? There are no really, there's no modern conveniences anyway. But it's they still do set themselves apart in their dress, their manner of dress, and just their mannerisms and their moral values and things like that. There is plenty to separate them from the masses. So I thought this was a very good series. I really enjoyed it. I listened to all of these on Audible Escape right before Audible Escape disappeared, and I was so thankful that I got to listen to these. I think, though, that there may be some of these on Hoopla on audio. I'm not absolutely certain. I could be wrong. But anyway, if you find that you are interested in reading this, I would definitely recommend it. And I enjoyed all 3 books in the series, as well as the novella. If you can't find the novella, it's just it's a tiny little thing, and you're not going to miss a whole lot if you can't find it. But, if it's tacked on to the end of one of your books, then, by all means, you could read it. It is the romance between the father and the mother. Now, the mother we don't meet because she has died before this book series starts. So that was kind of neat to be able to see her, meet her, and just learn a little bit of their backstory. So anyway, I just wanted to comment on that, and just let you know that historical Amish fiction does exist. Now, I thought I would maybe do a book video, like a bookshelf tour, and now I can't decide, because I feel like we're already 12 minutes in. It might make this video too long. I don't know. Okay, let's just do it. Stick with me. If you don't have time to watch it, you can always just end here and then come back and watch the other half later if you're interested at all. This is kind of a combination book haul and bookshelf tour. Now, I don't normally keep my Amish books behind me. I've got them in 2 shelves here. I normally keep them on the top shelf in my utility room up above all my mysteries. And I would, up to recently, I had Amish books in the front and Christmas books in the back, and then when it was Christmas season, I would flip-flop them and have my Christmas books in the front and Amish books in the back. I have collected so many Beverly Lewis books lately, and I still don't even have nearly all of her books. There's just not enough room. But I don't know. I think what I'm going to end up having to do is pack up most of my Christmas books. I do already have some of them in a box, and I'm probably going to have to take my Cape Light series, all the Christmas ones that I'm going to be a while getting to, and just put those all in a box marked Christmas. And then when Christmas season rolls around, I'll figure out where I can display them. So for now, though, I had cleared out one of these shelves for some special videos that I did earlier back in March. And then I thought, okay, I'll just put all my Amish books here. Well, I had more Amish books than would even fit on one shelf. So I had to clear out the second shelf just so I can show them to you. So these are only up here for the month of April, really maybe even just for the Readathon. And I'll go ahead and remove them back to their regular spot once I get done reading the Amish books I'm going to read for this month. But I thought you might like to see what I have. The majority of what I have are going to be inspirational Amish romances, either faith-based or with an underlying faith theme. not all of them are. And some authors I have read more than others. Some authors I own more than others. I have read quite a few other Amish themed books that I don't own. I had owned them and I've already passed them on to other people to share or to read, because I just can't keep everything. And so I try to kind of keep my books fluid. So this is what I have right now. I probably will keep most of my Beverly Lewis books just because that's where I started with Amish fiction, and I really, really do enjoy her work. So anyway, let me flip the camera around and I'll show you what is on the shelves behind me. All right, the only books I have on this upper shelf are Wanda Brunstetter and Beverly Lewis. I consider them the matriarchs of Amish fiction. I don't know if anyone wrote any Amish fiction before they did. If they did, let me know. But I have only a few Wanda Brunstetter books, and most of these I have not read. I have read some by her that I've really enjoyed, but I didn't keep them. I passed them on to people that I thought would enjoy them. So here I have Amish White Christmas Pie. That looks good. I think it's a standalone. Lydia's Charm, I think, is also a standalone. And then one of my subscribers sent me this. I think it was Twana Callahan. Thank you again, Twana, for this. The Amish Cooking Class Trilogy. I am planning to try to read this one either this month, or if I don't get to it this month, at some point this year. This has 3 different books in this one bind-up. And then this one, I believe, is a duology. I don't know if there's any others in this series. This is the Amish Hawaiian Adventures. It is by Wanda Brunstetter and Jean Brunstetter. I think that Jean is her daughter, but I don't know that for certain. This is a bind-up of 4 books. This is the Lancaster Brides, and all of these are by Wanda Brunstetter. I did have, well, shoot. I had a list here of the 4 books that are in there. Interestingly, because I've had that a long time, and I still haven't read them, and that is the cover that I'm just used to seeing. So I found this book at one of our library book sales at my local library, where they just do fill a bag for $1, and I knew I didn't recognize it, and so I just popped it in my bag, and then I got home and thought, oh goodness, I think I already have this. This is Looking for a Miracle. It's book 2 of the Brides of Lancaster County, which is in this bind-up. So I am going to be passing this book on to someone else. But interestingly enough, there's a wheelchair on the cover. Sometimes, we're looking for romances with disability rep, and I think that is a good possibility that has a disabled person as a character in the book. Now, I have listened to this one. I think I listened to it on Audible Escape before Audible Escape went away. This trilogy is The Daughters of Lancaster County. The Storekeeper's Daughter is the first one. And the next one is The Quilter's Daughter. Now, I had run across this at various book sales and whatnot, and I never picked it up originally because I always saw that it was book 2, and I didn't think I had book 1. So I thought, well, I'll have to search for book 1 and all that, so I just won't get it. So not even realizing that I already had this on the shelf, and it's the same series, because they don't look alike. They look very different. Now, The Bishop's Daughter, which is book 3, it looks similar to The Quilter's Daughter, so I would recognize it as being connected. But anyway, so be it. I have all 3 now, and I do want to finish this trilogy at some point this year. All right, the first 2 Amish books I ever read, Beverly Lewis, The Postcard, and its sequel, The Crossroad, both very, very good. I've talked about these at length before, and I love them. I have also read these, or listened to these on audio. The Shunning, there was a movie of this. The Confession, I think the movie may have, I don't know if the movie contained the whole story, like all 3 books, or what. I mean, the first book is really just part of the story. You need to read all 3 to get the full story. And The Reckoning, all very good. Now, this is one of her earlier series, and I just collected all of these. It's a 5-book series. I just got these within the last year. The Covenant, and I've heard this is really good. This is the Abram's Daughters series. The Betrayal, The Sacrifice. Sorry, my camera keeps moving. The Prodigal, and The Revelation. I believe that is all of the books in that series. And then she's got several trilogies. I have The Courtship of Nellie Fisher trilogy. This is The Parting, The Forbidden, and The Longing. And then the Seasons of Grace trilogy, The Secret. I have not read any of these. The Missing and The Telling. And then I only have 2 of the Rose trilogy. I have 1 and 3. 1 is The Thorn. I'm trying to think now what the second book is called. I can't even think. The Mercy is the 3rd book, and these are from the Rose trilogy. Now then, this is the series that I am trying to finish this month. I have already read The Fiddler. The series is called Home to Hickory Hollow. I don't have book 2. It is called The Bridesmaid. It's good. It's about the sister of the main character here, and she's, always a bridesmaid, never a bride. This is the one I'm going to read next by Beverly Lewis, The Guardian. And this is a library copy, so I just stuck it up here so I could show you the whole series, as many as I could. The Secret Keeper, so I don't own that one, and The Last Bride. So then these other 4 here are standalones by Beverly Lewis. She's got a lot of standalones, and I only have a few. I have The River, The Atonement, The Proving, and The First Love. That's a pretty cover. So she's got a lot more than that. I just don't own them. I get myself in these situations where I start a series, start collecting it, and then I have to just finish collecting that series, and then I just kind of, focus on that and not, and I don't pick up a lot of the standalones unless I find them at a fill-a-bag sale, which is definitely worth it there. Okay, so here are some of the other Amish authors. I have read some of these authors. This is a series that my sister just sent me. Well, she sent me this one, Falling to Pieces by Vanetta Chapman. It's the Shipshawana Amish Mystery Series. She said this is really good, and I've heard that from other people as well. She just gave me this on on my trip, and I did get to see my sister. This is A Perfect Square. It's book 2. And I think there's a 3rd book in that trilogy or series. I don't know if there's any more. All right, so I did manage to collect all 4 of the books by Shelley Shepherd Gray from the Sisters of the Heart series. I have Hidden, Wanted, Forgiven, and Grace. Then another series by Shelley Shepherd Gray. I think there's only 3 of these, and I've got 2 of them. Hopeful is book 1. I think there's one called Thankful, that's book 2, and then Joyful is book 3. Now, here's a series by Shelley Shepherd Gray that I have read. In fact, I used to own 1 or 2 more, and I did go ahead and pass those on, but I hung on to this first one just so I could show it as an example. This was a very enjoyable series. This would count if you ever have a theme of like a prompt for a road trip, because it's about some Amish girls from an Amish community in maybe Ohio or Pennsylvania, and they take a road trip to the Amish community in Florida, and one of them ends up getting into a romance with a local Florida man, a young man. So this is a fun series, and I really, really enjoyed it. I read it last year. Then I have several books by Cindy Woodsmall, because the publisher who publishes these, Waterbrook and Multnomah, sent me this one. It's a finished copy, The Christmas Remedy, and so I have read it, and then the next year they sent me an arc of A Christmas Haven. I have not yet read it. And so then on my own, I collected this 4-book series, The Sound of Sleigh Bells, and also these 2 are by Cindy Woodsmall and Aaron Woodsmall, who is her daughter-in-law, I believe. So this series is called, what? Oh, goodness. I am supposed to know that, but I can't think. Anyway, The Sound of Sleigh Bells, the Christmas Singing, The Dawn of Christmas. So, interestingly, the first 3 are Christmas themed, and the last one does not appear to be. It's a springtime book, The Scent of Cherry Blossoms. But this is a 4-book series by Cindy Woodsmall. Now, this series sounds really interesting. This is the Sisters of the Quilt series, and I believe there's only 3. Oh, no, actually, there may be a 4th one that I don't have. When the Heart Cries, When the Morning Comes, and When the Soul Mends. And I don't know for sure if there's more or not. And then this one, the publisher also sent me. It's an arc, and I have read it. This one is very different than most Amish books that I've ever read, but it is by Cindy Woodsmall and Aaron Woodsmall. It's called The English Daughter. I talked a little bit about it on the live stream yesterday, I think. Anyway, it's, like I said, it's very different, but I don't want to give away any spoilers. It it may or may not be what it appears to be when you start reading it. So I'll just leave it at that. I've got just a couple of, three love-inspired and suspense love-inspired novels. I do have a couple that are just love-inspired. They're Amish Reunion by Lenora Worth and The Amish Widow's Secret by Cheryl Williford. I think this one is the first in a duology that is set in Pinecraft, which is the Florida Amish community in Sarasota. And I do want to get that one read, hopefully one of these days pretty soon. And then this I just picked up on my trip, Plain Threats by Allison Stone. I haven't even looked it up to see what number this is, but Donna from Studio in the Library was just saying that she read the first book in this series, and she just finished it, and I think she said that she enjoyed it. Then one of my subscribers just sent me this, Amish Outsider by Marta Perry. I am so excited about this. I have not ever read any Marta Perry. And then I've got some short stories. A lot of these are led by Beth Wiseman. They also, quite a few of them have stories by Kelly Long and Amy Clipston. This one has all three of those. It's called An Amish Kitchen. The next one is An Amish Miracle. This one has Beth Wiseman, Ruth Reed, and Mary Ellis as authors. An Amish Gathering is by Beth Wiseman, Kathleen Fuller, and Barbara Cameron. I've got a Barbara Cameron Amish book on my old Nook. I need to dig that out and finish that. It was a book that I just never got finished because my Nook sort of went kaput, but I think I have the ability to charge it now. It's one of those things that I just kind of forget I have because it's just been so long since I've really read much off of it. Anyway, I do have a Kindle, which I use more often now. This one is An Amish Harvest. It has 4 stories: Beth Wiseman, Amy Clipston, Kathleen Fuller, and Vanetta Chapman. Now, speaking of Amy Clipston, last year I listened to all 4 of her Heirloom series, which is The Forgotten Recipe, I think it was The Hope Chest, The Beloved Chest was one of them. And it's a 4-book series. I had 3 of them, and I didn't think I was ever going to read them again. So I gave those to my friend that owns the flea market bookstore so that, she could take them and resell them. And I think she gave me another free book in exchange or something. So, like I said, I've read several that I don't have anymore just because I can't keep everything. This one I think I have read. I've listened to it. It's by Beth Wiseman, Kathleen Fuller, and Kelly Long. And I don't know whether all of these tie together, but in this one, there are 3 weddings and they are all related. They have crossover characters. So I don't know if that's the case with the other books, like if all 3 or all 4 of the stories in each book are related. There may be some that are and some that aren't. I'm really not sure. This is An Amish Garden by Beth Wiseman, Kathleen Fuller, Tricia Goyer, and Vanetta Chapman. And then An Amish Market by Amy Clipston, Kathleen Fuller, Kelly Irvin, and Vanetta Chapman. And this one is An Amish Homecoming, Amy Clipston, Beth Wiseman, Shelley Shepard Gray, and Kathleen Fuller. So you start to see a lot of the same names, just in different configurations. This one is not a short story. This is, well, actually, there are 2 short stories. I'm sorry. The Amish Bride. I think there's 2 stories, but one is by Minnie Starnes Clark, and the other is by Leslie Gould. I have read an Amish book by Leslie Gould. I think it was Courting Kate. Is that the one I read? I listened to that on the Audible Escape package last year, and I think I did some vlogging about it. It was very interesting, as I recall. So I'm curious to read more books by Leslie Gould. This, I think, is part of a series. It's a Christmas book by Suzanne Woods Fisher, Christmas at Rose Hill Farm, and I think it's not the first in the series, so I'm going to need to find the others in that series. An Amish Christmas Quilt. It doesn't look long enough to be 3 stories, but I guess they're short. Charlotte Hubbard, Kelly Long, and Jennifer Beckstrand. Now, Jennifer Beckstrand is another author I have heard of. I don't own anything by her. She has a Huckleberry series that sound really fun, and I have not read any of those. Then here is an all-Christmas book. It's got 2 tales. It says 2 heartwarming tales by Cynthia Keller. One is called An Amish Christmas, and one is A Plain and Fancy Christmas. So it's 2 stories, but they're by the same author. And then I have this beautiful book here, A Plain and Sweet Christmas. This has a lot of authors: Jerry Eicher, Olivia Newport, Laura Lee Bliss, Ramona K. Cecil, Diane Christner, Melanie Dobson, Rachel O. Phillips, Claire Sanders, and Anna Schmitz. So it says Spend Christmas with 9 historical couples from Amish, Mennonite, Quaker, and Amana settlements. So it's not just Amish. So that's interesting. I have several of these Barber books, and I have not read any of them. So that is my collection of Amish books. Let me flip the camera back around, and I will sign off. Well, I hope you enjoyed that little tour of my Amish fiction. And like I said, I have had other books that I have passed on to other people. I've had a few other short story books that I don't have anymore. And I've even had a few other love-inspired books in my possession. But I've got a really sweet friend that lives in a nursing home who loves to read Amish books, and she loves the little love-inspired ones because they're easy to hold and she can finish one quickly. And so sometimes I find those and I just take them straight to her because she appreciates it, and that's one of the few things that she can hold and read. But anyway, I have enjoyed showing you my collection, and I will probably acquire more, and I will probably pass some of these on before the year is out. And so maybe next year, if it changes much, or within a couple more years, I'll have to show you again my collection because it'll be different. But meanwhile, I've got a lot of books to read. I am planning to read several more or listen to several more on audio this month throughout the rest of April. And I didn't get to start on my Amish books as quickly as I wanted to this week because of trying to read a couple of book club books. But those will be done by Thursday, and I will, whether they're done or not, I'll be done with them. And I'll be getting back to the business of reading some Amish books. So hopefully pretty soon, maybe Sarah and I can do a live stream wrap-up of what we have been reading this month. And I hope that you all will join in with that. Probably, maybe we'll do that on her channel, since I just had a live stream on my channel yesterday. And anyway, just stay tuned to both of our channels. And if you're interested in more chat about Amish fiction, then I hope that we can bring some more video content to you that you will enjoy. Meanwhile, that is all for this video. I hope you are having a great day. Read a good book, and God bless you.